Hi, my name is Dale Darby. I'm with LRS IT Solutions. Today I want to demonstrate to you the integration between VMware, vCenter, and IBM N-Series storage. The plugin I'm going to show you is called VSC, Virtual Storage Console. So this screen should be familiar for anyone who uses vCenter. What we have here in our lab is a HA cluster with 3 ESX servers. What I'm going to demonstrate now is the ease of actually creating new data stores on IBM N-Series storage. Using the VSC plugin, this is going to allow me to actually go and create data stores and map them straight back to vCenter without even having to log on to my storage device. In normal terms of creating data stores, what you normally have to do is actually go and create a LUN, map it to each of the ESX servers. Then you'd have to come to vCenter and you'd have to go discover that LUN and then configure that LUN for data store. From my HA cluster, I right-click on that and there's an option now called IBM N-Series. Click on Provision and Cloning, do Provision Data Store. It brings up a wizard that asks me which storage device do I actually want to create this on. So within my lab, I've got LRS Filer 1, LRS Filer 2. We will create this data store on LRS Filer 1. Now it gives you a couple of options. Do you want to create an NFS data store or a VMFS? For this, we're going to do NFS. It's going to ask me what size I want the data store to be, as well as the name of the data store and where on the storage device, what RAID array we want to create it on. For this, we're going to create AG0, and we will call the data store LRS Demo 1. At the same point, I can actually now go and I can automatically thin provision this data store on the storage device, as well as being an NFS data store, I can automatically allow this volume or this data store to grow if it starts running out of space. So with this example, it says grow in increments of 1 gig to a maximum of 20 gig. Hit apply. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go back to the storage device. It's going to go and create that new data store. And then from that point, it's going to actually, it knows about the actual ESX servers within that cluster. So it will map it back to all of those clusters. Okay, so at this point, let's go to one of these ESX servers. And if we look under configuration, the storage now, we can see that that data store was created and it was mapped across each of those ESX servers in the cluster. At this point, you know, if we decided that we wanted to change the size of this data store, all we need to do now is just click on to the data store in question, right click on it, go back down to the IBM N-Series drop down, do provision cloning and hit resize. At this point, it brings up a wizard again. It says that it's 10 gig and it asks you down here, what size do you want to create that? So let's just make that 20 gig. Press OK. So what this is doing is going back to the storage device and just expanding that volume that was created. Now we can see that that data store has increased from 10 gig to 20 gig. So that just shows you some of the ease of functionality and integration between vCenter and the IBM N-Series storage using the VSC plugin. Other options within that are, you could right-click, do the N-Series, you can resize, you can reclaim space, or you could actually destroy that whole data store from here. So if it was a temporary data store, you could just come here and you could destroy it. What that would do is then it would remove all the virtual machines that were in that data store, and it will go back to the storage device and delete that volume. So the next demonstration I want to show you is, now that we have a data store, is let's go and create some virtual machines. with the VCS plugin, what this allows you to do is actually use an option called rapid cloning. So instead of using the cloning option within VMware, which you would clone a virtual machine from, each one of those clones could take, basically depending on the size of the virtual machine you're cloning, could take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, even 15 minutes to actually clone one machine. What the rapid cloning option does is it will still do that 5 to 10 minutes for that first virtual machine, but after that, what it does is it actually knocks them out about 1 second, because it's just using pointers on the storage to go and create those virtual machines. So I have a Ubuntu desktop here that I'm going to use. We right click on that, we go back down to the IBM N series, we do provision storage, and we do create rapid clones. At this point, we're going to create these virtual machines within LRS Filer 1, because that's where we created that new data store. For this demonstration, I'm just going to put them straight onto the HA cluster. I'm going to keep them in the same format that it is currently. And within the screen, we're going to identify the name of the machine, how many we want. If you were doing VDI, for example, it has an option that it would automatically map these into your connection broker, as well as if you were doing like a 2008 server, you could actually put the customization specification in there, which is going to be your sysprep, so each machine is individual. But for this demonstration, I'm going to create 10 Linux desktops, and we'll call them LRS demo 1 to 10. It gives you the option, once the clones are created, to actually power those machines on. At this point, we're going to select the data store. Now we're going to use the data store that we created. Now, I know that this virtual machine is actually about 6 gig in size. And as you can see, I'm creating 10 virtual machines in a 20 gig alone. And that shows you that, instead of using 60 gig of space, I can actually use just 6 gig of space, because every virtual machine is going to be cloned from that one. And so the first one's going to be the clone. The other 9 are just going to be pointers to that clone. But at the point that they created, then they will start using their own space. So now you can actually see these virtual machines popping into the vCenter. So what I've tried to demonstrate here is that, within a couple of minutes, I've just gone and created 10 virtual machines, whereas before, that would have taken almost 5 to 10 minutes to create each of those virtual machines. And I've been able to do that through the rapid cloning option just in a couple of minutes.